The intergalactic classroom was big and bright. Students from many different planets sat in floating chairs. The walls glowed with soft blue light, and small holograms of cells and organs moved through the air. This was the xenobiology class at Galaxy's Prime University, the top school in the galaxy. At the front stood Professor Nulrek, a four-eyed insectoid from planet Dreth. He clicked his pincers and spoke in a deep voice. Today we learn about reproductive cycles across species. Who has questions? The class was quiet. Everyone looked around. Most students were too nervous to ask anything. Then a soft voice spoke from the middle row. I have a question. It was Zirel, a young alien girl from the planet Azari. Her skin was pale blue with glowing stripes, and her large golden eyes blinked slowly. She was usually quiet, shy, and always focused on studies. But today, she looked confused and curious. Professor Nulrek turned toward her. Yes, Zirel. Please ask. Zirel looked at her datapad and then at a human sitting 2 rows ahead. Her cheeks flushed violet as she said, Is it true that human males are always fertile? That they have no mating season? The room froze. Students from every corner turned their heads to look at Jake, the only human in class. He was tall, dark-haired, and had an easy smile. Right now, though, his face turned red. Even Professor Nulrek paused. Ah, he said slowly. A bold question, but a good one. Some students began to whisper. A lizard-like girl hissed with laughter. A furry creature from planet chuckled and poked his friend. Jake rubbed the back of his neck. Well, yes, it's true. Zirel tilted her head. But how? My species has one mating cycle every 3 years. It is controlled by moonlight and chemical signals. Without the right time, our males are, not functional. Jake smiled awkwardly. Humans don't work that way. Our bodies are ready almost all the time. There's no season for it. More whispers. More gasps. Professor Nulrek raised his hands to quiet the class. Let us remain respectful. Interspecies biology is diverse. Human males, indeed, do not have a set cycle. Their reproductive system functions year-round. Zirel looked shocked. But wouldn't that make them dangerous? Now Jake raised his eyebrows. Dangerous? I mean, Zirel stammered, how can a species survive if their males are always, ready? Doesn't it lead to chaos? Jake laughed, just a little. Sometimes, yeah. But we have self-control. We choose. Zirel looked at him like he was a strange creature in a glass tank. You choose when to mate? Jake nodded. Yeah, it's not about biology. It's about emotions, connection. The class went silent again. This time it wasn't because of shock, it was because of curiosity. Professor Nulrek nodded. This is the key difference. Humans are unique. Their emotions and biology are connected in ways few other species understand. Zirel looked down at her datapad, her mind spinning. Always fertile? Always ready? And they choose? It didn't make sense to her. On Azari, relationships were scientific, practical, and rare. There was no room for desire outside of a scheduled cycle. But humans were different. She glanced at Jake again. He caught her eye and smiled kindly. Her face turned even more purple. Professor Nulrek continued. But Zirel didn't hear much. Her thoughts were busy. If he's always fertile, is he feeling something now? Can he sense things I cannot? And why does my chest feel warm? After class ended, Zirel packed her things slowly. She noticed Jake standing near the exit, talking to a friend. She wasn't sure why, but her legs moved toward him. Jake, she said quietly. He turned. Hey, you okay? I hope I did not offend you. He chuckled. Not at all. It was a good question. Honest. Surprising, but kind of fun too. She nodded slowly. Your kind is very strange, but interesting. Jake smiled. Thanks, I think. She turned to leave but paused. "One more question," she said without facing him. "How do you control it? If your body is always ready." Jake grinned. "Discipline, focus, and well, cold showers." Zarel blinked. "Cold showers?" Jake laughed. "It's a human thing. I'll explain later." She walked away, confused but curious. Cold water? Discipline? And emotions? How can a species so wild be so calm? Zarel didn't know it yet, but this question was the start of something big. Not just for science, but for her heart. Zirl couldn't sleep that night. The stars outside her dorm window were quiet, but her mind wasn't. Her data pad showed dozens of notes, but her eyes were stuck on just one sentence: "Human males are always fertile." She had read it 10 times, but it still didn't make sense. How could a body stay ready all the time and not lose control? Wasn't that dangerous, risky, wild? On her homeworld, Yuzari males became fertile only once every 3 years. They would be locked in cool caves until the season ended. It was normal. It was safe. That's how it had always been. But humans? They lived with that power every single day. And somehow, they lived peacefully. Zarel blinked at the sentence again. Always fertile, but still chooses. How can something be so strong and still be gentle? The next morning, Zarel arrived early at the library. She didn't wear her usual loose robe. Instead, she wore a tighter suit with extra cooling patches under her arms and neck. She told herself it was because the weather was warm, but she knew the real reason was often at the library in the morning, and sure enough, he was there. Leaning back in his seat, he sipped his coffee and tapped on his tablet. His dark eyes scanned the screen, but he noticed Zarel the moment she walked in. He smiled. She didn't smile back. Her heart was beating too fast. She walked over slowly. "Can I sit?" Jake nodded. "Of course." They sat in silence for a moment. The smell of his coffee reached her nose. It was rich, strange, and oddly comforting. "I have more questions," she said finally. Jake looked amused. "Shoot." Zarel hesitated, then asked, "What do you mean?" "Always? You said your body is ready, always. But how does that work? Doesn't your body need a signal or a cycle?" Jake set his tablet down. He didn't laugh this time. He could see the serious look in her eyes. "Well," he said slowly, "we don't need a season or signal. Our body is always producing. Reproduction isn't timed like some species. It's just normal." Zarel stared. "So you are never off?" Jake smirked a little. "Nope." Her cheeks darkened with a glow. "That sounds terrifying," he chuckled. "It can be. But like I said, we don't act on instinct alone. Humans build control. We wait for the right time, the right person." Zarel's mind raced. "But how do you stop your body? What if someone touches you or stands close?" Jake raised an eyebrow. "You've been reading a lot, haven't you?" She looked away. "I want to understand." Jake leaned in slightly. "It's not just about stopping the body. It's about knowing why you want something. If you don't understand the reason, you're just a slave to chemistry." Zarel's fingers gripped the edge of the table. Slave to chemistry. Was that what was happening to her? Because lately, every time she was near Jake, her body felt hot. Her heartbeat rose. Her skin tingled. It was far too early for her mating season. She looked up. What if someone's body starts reacting even when it shouldn't? Jake paused. That's not a bad thing. Maybe it means the body knows something the brain hasn't figured out yet. Zarel's eyes widened. He smiled gently. You. Okay, she nodded slowly. I think I'm learning something. But not just biology. He raised his coffee. To strange discoveries. Zarel touched her cooling patch again and looked down, hiding a small smile. But deep inside, one thought was growing stronger. If human males are always ready, Then why does he look at me like I'm the one with the power? And for the first time, Zarel wasn't just curious about humans anymore. She was curious about him. Zarel used to study things from a distance, cells under glass, stars through a scope, data on a screen. But now, she was studying a human, and he wasn't on a screen. He was sitting just 5 feet away, laughing with his friends in the dining hall, one hand holding a fork, the other tapping his chin while he spoke. Jake, the human male who didn't need a season. The one who said he chooses when to act. Zarel blinked and stared harder. His body didn't look dangerous. He looked relaxed. Normal, friendly, but her heart still beat faster than it should have. She whispered to herself, for science. This is just for science. That night, she opened a secret file on her datapad. Subject H1, Human Male Response Log. She began taking notes. Subject appears calm even during close contact. Emits consistent body heat. Scent becomes stronger after physical activity. Possibly triggers reaction in Izari receptors. Closing parenthesis. She paused. The word scent made her remember something strange yesterday. When Jake stood close to her while handing a datapad, her knees had gone weak. His scent wasn't bad, it was warm. Like dry earth and spice. She didn't even know humans had pheromones, but her body reacted anyway. Zarel sighed and added to the file. Note, subject's natural body chemistry may be causing confusion. In Observer's system. The next day, she started recording him with her wrist hola. Just for research. She watched how he smiled at others, how he stretched his arms when tired, how his voice dropped when he spoke seriously. Each movement had rhythm, strength, and something she didn't expect. Softness. Her people believed males were only useful during the breeding season. They were kept isolated, rarely seen, barely spoken to. But Jake? He laughed. He comforted. He listened. Zirl had never seen a male do all that. She whispered again. How can someone be strong and still so kind? Later that week, she interviewed a robotic med assistant. Do humans emit constant reproductive signals? She asked. The AI responded. Human males maintain baseline fertility levels at all times. No seasonal pause. She hesitated, then asked, can prolonged contact with a fertile human male alter an alien female cycle? The AI paused, blinking blue. Then said, unconfirmed. However, minor cross-species effects have been recorded. Increased temperature, elevated heart rate, emotional shifts. Possible bioresonance. Zarel frowned. Bioresonance? The AI explained. When a compatible presence causes a body to sync emotionally or chemically with another. Usually only seen in bonded species. Her heart skipped a beat. Compatible presence. Was that happening to her? Later that night, Zarel stood in front of her mirror. She touched her cheek. It was warmer than usual. Her stripes glowed softly. Involuntary reaction. Her body was reacting like she was entering pre-cycle. But that was impossible. There were still 2 years before her next mating season. She swallowed hard. This can't be happening. Not now, not with a human. And yet, every time she heard Jake's voice, her mind calmed and her body heated. It was more than science now. This was personal. The next day, she avoided Jake. She couldn't risk losing control. Her instincts were waking up, and she didn't know how to handle them. But Jake noticed. He followed her after class. Hey Zarel, are we okay? She turned. I need space. He stepped back respectfully. Of course. Just tell me if I did something wrong. No, she said too quickly. You've done nothing. It's me. I'm changing. And I don't know why. Jake looked worried. Is it something medical? She almost said yes. But instead, she whispered. I think it's something you started. Jake's eyes widened. Zarel turned and walked away before she said too much. But deep inside, she knew the truth. My research wasn't just about him. It was about me. And now my heart is the subject. Zarel had never cried before. Isari didn't cry. They didn't have tear ducts. But what she felt now, it was close. Her chest was tight, her skin too hot, and her mind completely clouded. She stood under the sonic shower in her dorm, motionless, eyes shut. The room was quiet, but inside her, it was chaos. He didn't even do anything. But I still felt it. Jake had smiled at another girl in the garden today. A simple smile, friendly, harmless, but it hurt. Why? She didn't own him. He wasn't hers. So why did it feel like something inside her cracked open? Back home, Isari females only felt emotions during their cycle, and only when near their chosen mate. But this wasn't her cycle. And Jake wasn't her mate. So what was this storm? Earlier that day, she had seen her own reflection: glowing skin, pulsing eyes, racing pulse. All signs of preheat reaction. Impossible, dangerous, shameful. This shouldn't be happening. She tried cooling herself. Meditation, breathing exercises, even iced nutrient packs. Nothing worked. Worse. Every time she tried to calm down, Jake's face came to her mind, his voice, his scent, his laugh. Zirl finally left her room in the middle of the night, hoping fresh air would help. The university garden was quiet, stars blinking above. She sat alone on a bench near a glowing blue tree. And then soft footsteps. Jake. He was holding 2 steaming cups, one in each hand. He stopped when he saw her. I thought I might find you here, he said quietly. She didn't move. He walked closer and held out a cup. Herbal tea. Good for stress. She took it slowly. Their fingers brushed for a second. Her body shivered. Not from cold. Jake sat beside her, not too close. Just enough, Zarel, he said gently. You've been distant. She stared at the tea. I don't know what's happening to me. You can tell me. She hesitated. Do humans feel storms inside them? Jake blinked. You mean emotions? She nodded slowly. Like heat in the chest. Heavy thoughts. Uncontrollable feelings. For someone else. Jake gave a soft smile. All the time. Her breath caught. I've never felt this before, she whispered. My species. We don't feel these things unless it's mating time. But it's not my time. Not even close. Jake looked at her, serious now. Then what do you think is causing it? She looked up. Her eyes shimmered faintly in the starlight. You, she said simply. I think it's you. Silence. Zirl turned away, embarrassed. I didn't want to say that. I tried to stop it, but I think I'm changing because I'm near you. And I don't know if I can handle it. Jake leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I don't want to hurt you. You didn't. That's the problem. You've only been kind. And that kindness is confusing me. He chuckled softly. Kindness shouldn't confuse people. She smiled faintly. On my planet it does. Another pause. A soft breeze moved through the garden. Jake glanced at her, voice softer now. Zarel, do you want me to stay away? She looked down. Her hands trembled slightly. No, she whispered. That's what scares me the most. I want you closer. Her heart pounded as she said it. She'd never admitted such a thing. Out loud, not even in thought. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, You're not alone. I've been feeling something too. Something warm. Something I didn't expect. Zarel looked at him, eyes wide. Even though you're always ready? Jake gave a slow nod. Being ready doesn't mean we don't choose, and right now, I choose to stay. Zarel didn't know what to say. Her storm didn't stop, but it felt like someone had finally stepped into it with her. Later that night, in her journal, she wrote just one line. He is not my mating partner. He's not from my world, but I think he might be my balance. Zarel had prepared 10 questions for him that morning. She deleted them all by noon. By evening, she was staring at her reflection in the mirror, again hoping for answers from the glass. But the glowing eyes that stared back were no longer a scientist's eyes. They were a girl's eyes, a girl who had started to feel too much. Jake found her in the quiet part of the campus, near the artificial waterfall. She stood on a stone bridge, watching the water flow beneath her feet. When she heard his footsteps, she didn't turn. "Is it wrong," she asked softly, "to want something you don't understand?" Jake stopped a few steps behind her. "Depends. Wanting isn't wrong, but hiding it too long can hurt." She turned to face him, and her lips moved before her thoughts could stop them. "I think I'm falling for you." Silence. Not even the water made a sound. Jake blinked. Zirl froze. "Did I just say that? Out loud?" She tried to step back, to take the words back somehow, but Jake gently caught her hand. She looked down, afraid to see his face, but his voice was calm, gentle. "Zarel, look at me." She did. "I'm glad you told me," he said. "Because I've been feeling the same." Zarel's chest tightened. Her skin lit up in soft pulses, something her people would never show in public. "Are you sure?" she whispered. Jake smiled. "Pretty sure. I don't know all your ways, your science, your rules. But I know this. I feel something when I'm with you. Something real." She swallowed. "But I'm not human. I don't even know how to love like your people do." He stepped closer. "Maybe love doesn't care where you're from. Maybe it just grows." Zarel blinked fast, trying to stay composed. "I've never said that word to anyone." Jake squeezed her hand gently. "Then I'm honored to be the first." They sat on the grass together under a large glowing flower tree. She told him how her emotions had been spinning, how her body was reacting like it was entering early heat, how it scared her. Jake didn't laugh. He didn't pull away. He listened. And when she stopped speaking, he said something she would never forget. "You don't have to go through this alone. If you're changing, then let me change with you." That night, as she returned to her dorm, her skin still glowed faintly. She felt warmth in places that were once cold. Her steps were slow, but her mind moved fast. She had confessed by accident. But somehow that accident had opened something beautiful. Not science, not instinct, something deeper. Inside her private journal she wrote, "I expected to study a human. I never expected to trust one, or need one, or love one." And in the final line, she added, "I think the real experiment has begun." They say when a sari bonds early, the stars dim for her. Zirl never believed in such stories, until now. Because tonight, even the stars outside her window seemed quiet, like they were holding their breath. She sat on the edge of her bed, holding a message crystal in her trembling hand. Her people had finally found out. "Return to Isari at once. Your biology has been compromised. You are showing human symptoms." The words echoed like a punishment. Human symptoms? Was love a symptom now? Jake waited in the garden, where they usually met. But she didn't come. Zarel sat alone in her room, trying to control her body's signals. Her heart wouldn't calm. Her skin glowed again. Her cycle wasn't just approaching, it was racing forward, triggered not by nature, but by Jake. Her cum beeped again. A voice came through. It was her mother. "Zarel," the voice said sharply, "you bonded with him, didn't you?" "I didn't mean to," she whispered. "But you did," her mother snapped. "And now you're marked. No Isari male will accept you. You've connected with an outsider." Zarel's voice broke. "But I love him." There was silence, then. Her mother said coldly, "Then you are no longer Isari." The call ended. Somewhere in the night, Jake's door buzzed. He opened it, and Zarel fell into his arms. She was shaking. Not from fear, but from heat. Her body was reaching the point of no return. Her cycle had fully started, but it wasn't supposed to. Not for another 2 years. Jake helped her inside, gently, like she was made of glass. He brought water. He wrapped her in a cooling blanket. "I'm sorry," she whispered through a shaky breath. Jake sat beside her, watching her glowing skin pulse. "Don't be. None of this is your fault. I think my body chose you before my mind did." Jake gave a faint smile. "I've never been chosen like that before." She rested her head on his shoulder, weak and tired. "I have to leave," she said softly. "They want me back. They think I'm broken." Jake's voice turned firm. "You're not broken. You're becoming something stronger." "But what if they're right?" she asked. "What if this bond makes me a danger? To them? To myself?" Jake reached out, held her trembling hand. "Then I'll go with you," he said. "Let them see who I am. Let them see that I didn't take anything from you. You gave it." Zarel looked at him, her golden eyes wet with something not quite tears, but close. "You'd risk that? For me?" Jake nodded. "You're not a project, not a puzzle. You're someone who changed me too. And I'm not letting you face this alone." Later that night, they stood at the spaceport gates. Zarel had never felt this scared, not when leaving home, not even during tests or exams. But now she wasn't afraid for herself. She was afraid for him. What if they hurt him? What if they never let us come back? Jake looked at her and said quietly, "If we go there together, then no matter what happens, I've already won." She took his hand, and together, they stepped onto the ship into the unknown. The shuttle doors opened to silence. Zarel stepped out first, her head held high. Jake walked just behind her. His boots touched the soil of Azaria, place where no human had ever walked before. Above them, tall crystal towers shone under the twin moons. The air was cold. The looks were colder. Hundreds of Azari stood waiting, their glowing eyes fixed on the pair. No one clapped. No one smiled. Zarel's father stood at the front, a tall, proud man with silver-striped skin. He didn't move. "You brought him here," he said, voice like ice. "I did," Zarel answered. Her mother stepped forward. "You came home glowing, changed. You bonded with an outsider. You disgraced your bloodline." Zarel didn't flinch. "I didn't bond by mistake. I bonded by choice." Gasps swept through the crowd. "And this human?" Her father growled. "What is he to you?" Zarel looked back at Jake. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Zarel turned to her people and raised her voice. "He is not a slave to instinct. He is not ruled by biology. He is something we forgot to be. He is kind. He is gentle. He chooses not because his body commands it, but because his heart does." Her voice echoed through the court. An elder stepped forward. "But the cycle has begun." He triggered it. "That's proof of danger," Jake finally spoke. "No, that's proof of connection." His voice was calm, but strong. "Your daughter isn't broken. She's growing. She felt something new, not because of my body, but because I gave her safety, not pressure." Zarel reached out, took his hand in front of everyone. "We don't need a season," she said clearly. "We don't need chemicals or cycles or moons. We choose." That is what he taught me. That is what love means. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then from the edge of the crowd, a young Azari female stepped forward. I want that too," she whispered. "Not a season. A choice." Another voice followed. "Why are we afraid of feelings when they make us stronger?" The crowd began to shift, whispering, murmuring. Minds were changing. Zarel's father looked around, and for the first time his proud shoulders lowered. "You would give up your people for this man?" Zarel shook her head. "No, I would show my people that we can be more." By the time the sun rose the next morning, a message was sent out across the stars. Bonding by choice is not weakness. It is the next step of evolution. And in a quiet garden under Isari's morning light, Zarel and Jake sat together. No more hiding. No more fear. She rested her head on his shoulder and whispered, "Thank you for being always fertile." He laughed. "Really? That's how you're going to say it?" She smiled. "No, I mean, thank you for being always kind, always patient. Always you." Inside her final research log, Zarel wrote, "Humans do not wait for nature to decide their future. They listen to their hearts, and then they leap. Perhaps that is what makes them truly powerful."